Preparing to live stream the meeting, buddy. We're live, my friend. I'm already getting yelled at from the other room.
I can hear her.
Yeah. It's a tad annoying, isn't it? Preparing to live stream the meeting, buddy.
Are you live?
Yes, we're live. Jesus Christ. So, Jeffrey, how's it going, man?
Good. How's it going, buddy?
Good. I'm just going to do the housekeeping, and I will let you take care of, if you can do that, thanking our sponsors, my friend.
I can certainly do that for you. Yes.
For me.
Well, yeah, you just asked me.
Okay.
Sponsors, Western Survivor Beef Jerky. Reach out to them at westernsurvivorbeefjerky.ca or on Facebook, Western Survivor Beef Jerky, I believe it is.
All right, now, Jeff, tell me about Western Survivor. What are they?
They are Canadian-owned out of Ontario, Canada. Beef jerky manufacturing. Is that what you call it? Manufacturing?
I don't know what you're talking about, man. All I want you to say is...
Don't worry about it. You just fucking be quiet.
Beef jerky on the planet.
Just fucking zip it.
Go on. Go on.
So, Western Survivor Beef Jerky, we have Israel Arm Wrestling Club. That is the best arm wrestling gear anywhere on the planet today. Their tables seem to be selling like hotcakes, and they're a hot item. So if you haven't got one, get one at israelarmwrestlingclub.ca. Misfit Powerlifting and Strength Shops. Hit them up on Facebook. Caroline Linies. She has got some incredible gear there. And we have Insight Arms out of Lloydminster, Saskatchewan / Alberta. The best manufactured firearms, custom made in Canada today.
Oh, my goodness. Is that everybody, Jeff?
Mm-hmm.
Are you sure about that?
Well, you always got your side shit going on, so who we missing?
My side shit? What are you talking about? Survivor, we got to thank Pound for Pound because the whole channel is sponsored by Pound for Pound. And I appreciate them. And you know what? I went over to...
oh, yeah, I forgot about that. You had a new deal going on there at Pound for Pound for the channel. So thanks to Ryan Bowen and Pound for Pound.
Yeah. But not just that. I went over to Gary's live stream and I said, the Total Arm Wrestling show starts in 14 minutes. And that is why the chat is so robust at the moment, I think. I don't know if everyone came over here organically or if they saw me make that post and then ditch out of there. So, Gary Roberts, I apologize, my friend. I didn't mean to disrupt your flow, but I don't know what he's going on. But he knows. He should know better. He should know that Thursdays belong to us.
Tomorrow I start another show on my own, eh?
Yeah, I know. Let's talk about that in a sec. Let's also talk about the fact that
fuck you got going on.
I am fueled by
Supplement King.
Now I got to figure out a way to keep that in the background at all times, but for now, I don't have the ability to do that because I started trying to hang it up about 17 minutes ago. And we also need to talk a little bit about the Patreon members. And we have an increasing amount. I think we've got 5 or 6 members on the YouTube channel right now. We've got a couple of the Center of the Table members on Patreon, but we also have Alpha members, and we give them a shout out every week. And those are Jeff Frank, Bruce Williz, Bryan Koerner, Jon Umpherville, Gary Roberts, who we just hijacked his show, Joe Fox, Mike Dumas, and Kenny Weaver. Kenny Weaver being the newest of the Alpha members.
Thanks, Kenny.
Yeah. And we got Phil coming on the show. So I got to go over to Facebook and send Phil a message and say, what is going on, man? Where the hell are you?
What time is it in Australia right now?
I think it's like noon. And of course, Phil Rasmussen being I believe the title is president of the Australian Arm Wrestling Federation.
Yeah.
And he is the man behind Over the Top 2. Oh my God. We gotta
Who's this guy?
chat. No, we're not reading that. We're not reading that. Unless you send it in $100 super chat, I will not read that. However, what are you drinking tonight, Jeff? I got the proper 12.
Do you? Actually, I'm going. I got pizza coming.
You got pizza coming?
Yeah, mom and I need a. I've been gone. I just got home yesterday. I had a long drive back from Vancouver. So yeah, we're gonna have a little date night, watch some shows together, and eat pizza, and maybe drink some drinks.
TV and pizza. Sounds like my kind of date. And my wife is watching upstairs. So I am.
Let's plug Victoria here. How's it going, Victoria?
She can't answer you, buddy. However, she did.
Why can't she's in the chat?
Yeah, where is she in the chat? I didn't see her yet.
She's coming.
And I noticed there's a whole bunch of people in the chat, but we only have one thumbs up. So let's get on that, guys. Now, I want to talk a little bit about, well, you've got a new career, Jeff. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, we could.
Yeah. What are you doing? What are you up to?
Yeah, I took a job out on Vancouver, the coast of Vancouver. Well, actually, my office isn't in Vancouver, but a lot of the projects are in that area. So basically, overseeing maintenance on bridges, organizing subcontractors to. Hello, Victoria.
She wanted me to point out that she was friends with you before I was.
Well, she was a lot nicer than you when we first met.
Yeah. That's
you were a little bit stuck up when I first met you. And like,
I just thought, who is this weirdo that's in my hotel room?
Right. But that was a good time. But anyways, yes, out on BC coast, overseeing bridge maintenance. So right now we're working on the Ironworkers Memorial Bridge, which is a pretty cool project. That's about 150 feet in the air over just on, I can't remember what the watershed is there called. It's not the Fraser River, but anyways, it's the bridge itself is over 4,500 feet long. And yeah, we're up there. My ass is puckered up every day, climbing up on that scaffolding and going in there. That's all new to me. So it's a little scary, cool, fun, exciting, new.
Awesome. And the news of the week for me is that Marcio and I have officially accepted each other's challenges. So should we talk about the evolvement of that match? It's not just, can we talk about it, Jeff? Can we talk about it?
Yeah, yeah, we can talk about it. You want to know what's going on?
Yeah. Tell me
So Marcio Barboza, Ryan Espy is now slated for July 3rd.
Why are you texting me saying Ryan's wife?
Oh.
Is your wife asking you who the hell is Victoria?
Yeah. So anyways, July 3rd. Yes, July. Fuck, I love this show, bud. Okay, July 3rd, Vancouver, BC, Canada. We have slated Marcio Barboza versus Ryan Espy, left hand and right hand. We are about 98% done. The negotiations are settled. Everybody's agreed to the.
Have we?
Yeah, I think we've agreed to it. Marcio's just got to figure out a couple more things on his end, but I think we're about 98% there.
All right.
Anything to add to
that? Yeah, there's lots to add to that. Did you say that it was both arms this time around?
It is. That's what you guys agreed to. And actually, no, Marcio wanted to do both arms.
Yeah, and I accepted.
And you accepted that challenge, yeah.
Yeah. So now that we've settled that, that's an upcoming match. Plus, we have you now explaining to your wife who Victoria is, which is awesome. And now our special guest has entered the room.
Mr. Phil.
Okay, what is Kudos Travel Technology? That's the first question. Phil, how you doing, buddy?
Gentlemen, how you going?
Awesome.
How's it going, brother?
I'm going well. I don't have a beer, unlike my friend Jake. Bit more sensible up here. I got a coffee, but thank you guys for having me on.
Thanks for coming on, man. We appreciate you joining us. And Jake tried to tell me that Foster's wasn't a popular beer in Australia. Is that true, or is he pulling my leg?
It is true. It's rubbish. We don't drink that here.
Fair. All right. So, Phil, tell me what your title is and what is on your shirt there, because it just said that Kudos.
Yeah, shameless plug. So this is it's my working day here, but Kudos is my company. It's a travel tech company. So when I'm not, pulling other men on the table, the job that actually puts money on the table for me is technology. So I work, which is coming in really handy right now because, I'm working in a space where we're seeing what's happening with the data behind the scenes that's going to restart travel. So vaccinations, digital passports, all that sort of stuff. So that's the space I work in.
Cool.
Okay. And what is your official title with Australia Arm Wrestling?
President.
All right. The president is here. Now, I want to get into over the top too, but Jeff, what do you have that you want to ask before we get there? Anything?
Oh, you fire away, Ryan.
So, Phil, we've talked lots in the past. We talked a little bit about maybe we talked a long time ago when it was the whole WAF versus IFA debate. Did Australia take an official stance on that?
We were very close to making a decision, and then COVID hit. So,
all right.
We had those chats. I think it was in January last year, maybe January, February. I know we had a good couple of phone calls about that, and we had yet to go to the committee for a vote. I know we saw Canada. They voted and they left and they went to IFA. We hadn't got to that point yet with the committee. Arnold's was right around the corner. So we have, all our energy goes towards the Arnold's in March. And that's a huge, big production for us. This was going to be our biggest ever. And then sort of COVID started to reveal itself and everything started to cancel. So suddenly the IFA WAF conversation became very low priority. And then when COVID sort of, came into its full force, we hibernated the sport. So we went into hibernation for really 6 months. And at that point, nobody was having that conversation. As you know, that whole big debate sort of fizzled out for a while, wasn't the most important thing. And we are sort of just getting back to that point now where we're going to revisit this.
Nice.
Excellent. Well, I think Canada still has a bit of a foot in both worlds. Like there's still some that will go to WAF and some that will go to IFA. And I think we still support sending a team to both, which is at some point WAF back then would have made us make a decision one way or another by banning athletes or whatever. But it sounds like we're way beyond that at this moment because of COVID. So here we have, you've announced or sent out teasers for Over the Top 2. Now, what can you tell us about that event?
Yeah, look, we were really excited, obviously, to drop that trailer, which, when I sent that to you, Ryan, just listening to that music, the month leading up to that, it was, how do we come up with the VFX to build a trailer that will get everyone excited? And it was like, it has to have the music. It has to have the end montage as part of it. And just to give you the backstory, it sort of started as a conversation late last year where one of the guys on the committee is a good friend of mine, Tom. He came to me and said, Phil, I've got an idea. And Tom's a great table builder. And he sort of said, I wanted to recreate Over the Top, and I'll build the tables to match the Perspex versions they used in the movie. And we'll host the event to sort of look and feel thematically like the original event. So we started this conversation for a few months, and we kept getting excited by each other. Kind of, we'd go, okay, what if we do this, and what if we make it 80s themed, where you dress up in the 80s attire. So by the time we got to the committee, we were, Tom and I were 100% sold on this. It's like, it's going to happen. We had the money. The money was a big one. We had sponsorship dollars that were paused from last year. So for us, we're a not-for-profit, volunteer-based federation, probably much like you guys are over there. And our job is to spend our sponsors' money in the best possible way. So we thought, let's put on the most, for lack of a better term, over-the-top event we can think of, to get the world excited again. And it's been 35 years since the original tournament. We looked at the format. The weight classes will be the same. So to give you the sort of further detail, weight classes will be matching the pro division. So over the top had military, it had pro, it had truckers. Now, we don't have a truck to give away, although I do like Devin's idea of a shitty truck that's painted orange I like that idea. We can make that happen. But the pro division did have classes that aligned to our nationals. So the pro division had lightweight, middle, light heavy, heavy, and super heavy for men left and right. And women, it had 2 classes as well at about that 63 kilo breakdown. So that is exactly the classes we used at our nationals. Like, well, let's just morph nationals into over the top so that we have prize money for all the pro classes. We have the big prize money for the over the top open class. So $10,000, and then prize money down to 5th place will be the open class. So there's considerable.
That was one of my big questions is there prize money down past 1st place? So that $10,000, is that per class or is that overall only?
That's overall right arm. So you make a decision, just like, same thing as what Jon Brzenk did. You make a decision. You can't go in the pro classes and the truckers, and Jon did the same. He let Scott Norton, well, he didn't let, but Scott Norton won the pro class, and Jon Brzenk went into the truckers division. So it gives competitors sort of this decision making. What am I going to train for? Do I rate myself in the open class, or do I have a better chance in the pro class, and I'll still take away decent prize money as well?
Okay, so that's my big question is, you have this prize money in the overall. Now, what is out there for the individual class winners?
Okay, so where it stands at the moment is we're thinking for each of the classes, so there's 5 left, 5 right for men's, $500 first, probably $300 second, $200 third, something along those lines. So that's for the women's and the men's pro classes. So again, there's incentive there to enter. There's at least $10,000 in prize money just to cover the pro class prize money. And then the open class will have its own 10, and we haven't yet decided 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, but it will be a decent sum of money.
So you can do both, or you can't do both. You have to pick.
We haven't made that decision yet.
Okay, but there is some money there for other people. It's not just like there's one $10,000 prize. There's a whole bunch of prizes.
Absolutely. It at the moment, the prize pool is sort of sitting around the 20,000 in total. Okay. That could go north. The benefit we have now is that we've announced this very early. From a social media perspective, from a sponsorship perspective, we've had a good track record with securing good sponsors over the years. So our main sponsor, Stronghold Panduit, they are providing that prize money. They're the ones who have supported us for the last 3 years. So they're excited. We will bring on a trucking company. We've been in talks with Volvo. So Volvo used to be our sponsor many years ago. And it kind of, after I was digging a little bit, I was like, hang on, that orange truck is a Volvo a white semi truck. So we've reached out to Volvo head of marketing to say, hey, do you guys want to pay homage to one of your most iconic trucks? And, what can you bring to the party? So we're having that discussion now as well with the guys at Volvo.
Nice.
That's amazing. So the left-hand classes will be a separate thing. There won't be an overall, or will there?
Sorry, Ryan, there's no left open class.
But there are pro classes left.
Yes.
Okay.
There's pro super heavyweight left, but it's just that, again, it's thematically consistent with over the top in all respects.
Interesting. So the question I have then, are all those big screen TVs are they also going to go into the hotel rooms and then all the crappy ones come back out and be given away as prizes?
Oh yeah. So you mean like the VCR, the crappy CRT?
That's what happened according to some people that were there. The Las Vegas Hilton actually took the new TVs they were supposed to give away, stuck them in the hotel rooms, and brought the old ones out, shoved them in boxes, and gave them out to the
cheeky.
Yeah,
cheeky.
yeah. And I also happen to know the guy that crawled up in the semi while it was on display and pocketed the radar detector out of it. John Brzenk knows about it and he wants it back.
You gonna reveal this guy's name?
Miles Wolko.
There you go.
Miles. Yeah.
Yeah, I said
No, that's good, Phil. I mean, the whole model of what you're doing, I think, is just tremendous, awesome idea. What's your vision for the whole event? Is it to draw people internationally? Is it more of an Australian-based tournament, or what's the whole vision around your tournament?
Well, it started off as, we started off in our region because obviously it's very much dictated on who can travel. So we picked a date as late in the year as possible to sort of align with what's happening globally with, the vaccination rollouts. When is international travel supposed to be back on the card? So we're kind of watching closely the carriers, our domestic carriers like Qantas, and when their plans are to open up most of their previous flight schedules to different destinations. It looks like October is the promising date for that. So late November means we've got a little bit of room to move. And we expect New Zealand's a guarantee. I mean, New Zealand already has a travel bubble with us. So NZ, Australia, Singapore. Look, Dubai's looking, that corridor through Dubai looks good. They've got a high level of inoculation already. And then whoever can come, really, Devon said, can I come and compete? Which then opens up the question, if Devon comes or that caliber, Jon Brzenk comes, what about the Europeans? Do we just say, all right, everyone, if you can come, you can enter the draw? That's the sort of discussion we're having at the moment.
Well, there is a question in the chat about the exact date. Do you have that nailed down yet? 27th
of November is the date we've kind of tentatively put aside.
And what part of Australia?
So Gold Coast in Queensland. So we thought pick the somewhere that international competitors would want to go. We had this chat actually with both with WAF a few years ago to say Gold Coast has got great infrastructure for big events. The beach is right there. We have some of the best beaches in the world. The casino is right there. It's a great party place as well. So
and that's somewhere. That's in the Northeast?
Yeah, Northeast.
Cool.
That's awesome because Jeff and I are coming.
Nice.
100%. We're in. Now, we might have to stow away and sneak out of the country, but we'll try to get there any way we can.
Yeah, let's hope these I know, I don't know, it seems everybody else is starting to loosen up and Canada keeps getting tighter with their restrictions, so it's getting a little frustrating. But
okay, let me ask you a question. When I'm watching Over the Top 2 trailer, the teaser trailer you put out there, what is the significance of the donkey on the road?
I haven't seen the trailer.
There's a great comment on that. One of the top YouTube comments was that stop for us moment. So the donkey. So initially, the first trailer we did had the VFX person we had to produce that. The truck's driving down the road, and then for no real reason, it jackknifes, and then it tips over, and then the money falls out. And I was like, that's a cool trailer, but why does the truck turn over? And, we had that discussion internally and we're like, I don't know if we should go to Volvo and show them a trailer where a semi truck just crashes for no reason. They're all about safety, right? That's not a good look. So we decided we need a reason for that truck to crash. So the donkey was, there was supposed to be a deer, but the VFX guy couldn't find a deer animation. So he stuck a donkey in. So there's the donkey story.
I hadn't seen the trailer yet. I just watched it there. So.
Oh, geez, Jeff, you're supposed.
Oh, Jeff, you got to watch the trailer.
I just watched.
If you're not excited after that,
I've been excited before that. So.
Yeah. So, I've often wondered what is the the climate of Australia arm wrestling. So you've got Ryan kind of doing his thing. In some ways, he's the face of it. And then you got Jake coming along and growing in popularity. Are you guys in collaboration constantly, or what's happening with that? If you can speak on that at all.
Yeah. I think we've got a really good, there's a lot of unity in Australia. I think it's one of those countries from an arm wrestling sense you look at, and there's not a great deal of, there's no divisiveness in terms of different leagues and different national federations, which you see in the US. So for us, it's always been, since 2010 when I sort of got involved in this and we started the federation, it's been a unified front. So Ryan came along, I think 2014, around that time, and obviously took a keen interest in the sport, and you've seen the level of passion he has, and then he's really evolved his game now in the social media area. So again, we still Ryan, we work together. He's all the events. It's one front. He has his pound for pound. It's a private promoter, or he was a private promoter. Now he's more of a content creator / merchandising, but it's his own thing. But as the federation, we're one single unified federation. So all the competitions in Australia, every national event, it's us. There's only one national title you can win. It's the Australian Arm Wrestling Federation National. So that holds a great deal of value. All the state events, Australian Arm Wrestling Federation, the Arnolds is us as well. So we basically have the calendar of events throughout the year, and then you'll get Ryan will, he was hosting his own sort of private super match events under pound for pound. I think now he's more deviated to pure content generation, and focusing on his merchandising components. So yeah, there's definitely a good synergy in Australia between Jake's come along. Jake's new, super passionate guy, super cool guy to talk to. And we're doing collaborations with Jake now to produce content for the Arm Wrestling Federation.
That's amazing. I love it. So now how would you rank? Do you guys have a ranking system in Australia?
We have a great ranking system, Ryan. The one that Devon endorsed it. It's built by one of our committee. So this is what I love about the sport here, is that all the core members of our committee, all the core members of our committee have been on this, for at least half a decade or more. And Juan, he's a mathematics doctorate, works for the statistics of Bureau of Statistics. He built this ranking system that was used by WAL, and Devon has embraced it, I think, for Canada. I think you may have seen it, Ryan. That's our ranking system. So every single match we loaded across the decade into the system, and it starts to match make, and it creates a rating for each competitor, and then you swap points based on how high you're rated. So it's the ELO rating system from chess, and we've been using that for every single competition for the last decade.
That's interesting. We have. So who is your number one guy? Who is the best arm wrestler in Australia right now?
Such a contentious point, but Ryan Scott.
Scott, really?
The milkman. He look. I know Ryan Blue's got his list, and at the end of the day, Ryan Scott has won everything. He's turned up to every event, and up until COVID, he was the guy. He won Arnold's. He's won Arnold's. He's won nationals. He's won the pound for pound competition. He has wins on all those guys. So until such time as he's beaten, he's the number one guy.
Now, is that the guy who Ryan Scott had a super match, about a year ago?
I think so, yeah.
Was it Devon that pulled him?
Yeah, that's the guy that Devon pulled.
Yes, okay. All right. Well, we probably know how that went, being that Devon is Devon. So are you guys still doing the Arnolds? Are you doing it in 2021? The answer is probably no, because they're, when would they be?
It's in March. So part of the reason we thought we throw most of our dollars for the year into nationals and Arnold's. Arnold's wasn't going to happen this year. It might happen later in the year, but again, Arnold's, there's a lot more moving parts to an event that size. International competitors are huge. And we thought that's probably going to happen in 2022. Now it will be back on the cards again, and I think 2022 March is probably the best case. So we could fit our tournament in, but Arnold's for us it's huge. It's a heap of fun. You know, the last one we had Devon and Schwarzenegger, and we sort of organized that Devon would be on the table and Schwarzenegger would walk up, and Devon, being Devon, on the spot sort of said, "Pull my finger," and had that really, great moment with Arnie. But, it's those kind of moments where I just go, this is why I love this sport. This is why we got into the sport. It's for those moments that we have and those experiences.
Jeffrey, you got anything, or are you dealing with a dog there, buddy?
Yeah, I muted. He was kind of freaking out at the pizza guy there, so I think he's all better now.
Pizza guy. Go ahead.
No, I was going to ask Phil. Like I said, I don't want. My only concern with and I don't want to act like concern was do you feel that the prize amount will draw people from the United States? It was one of the questions I wanted to ask you. When you do the conversion and the cost of travel and all that, do you think that prize amount will draw the people? Because I think it's completely awesome what you're doing, and I hope this thing just turns out bigger and better than anything that's ever been done. I really hope that. But do you feel that prize amount will limit people from the United States coming to Australia, if that's the vision of the tournament?
Yeah. Oh, look, it's not. I mean, look, $500 Australian, kind of converted to USD is probably 350 USD. It's not a huge amount for somebody to travel that far. It was never the intention to put the tournament on to sort of bring people from that far and wide, but we've sort of seen, based on the response, that perhaps that it's going to turn into that. So it means that we can step that prize money up if we do get further sponsors, which we obviously expect to. I'd like to put more money into the prize pool. I think that's a good way to incentivize competitors, particularly the ones who have to travel.
Yeah, no, that's well, I think one of the good things the whole tournament's got going for it is it being in Australia, and if you say Queensland, that's a beautiful place, and I think right there that's a huge selling feature. Like if everything aligns and restrictions are lifted, I'd love for my wife and I to come out there and do a vacation and come support this tournament you got going.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. That's exactly what we sort of hope from. After all the doom and gloom from the last 12 months is, people want to travel. They want to move around the globe again. We have a great place on our doorstep here in Queensland. So make a holiday of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's the plan. And if you look back, I've been around for a long time in this sport. And there have been, I think back 20 years ago. And is it a fair statement to say that the sport of arm wrestling almost didn't exist in Australia?
Yeah, not to my knowledge, it didn't 20 years ago.
So who was the man that got the ball rolling? Like, who started the sport in Australia?
So in terms of being an official federation, that was done in 2011. So that was myself who registered the federation, approached WAF and said, "Hey, there's nothing here. Can we be the federation?" So it started there. But there was a guy named Neil Bell, and Neil Bell was on the WAF executive committee for must have been a decade under Fred Roy, and Neil goes way back. So before all of the changes that came in. So Neil used to kind of travel around Australia. Real charismatic guy, and he had business cards that said, arm wrestling president. He would sort of handpick people at pubs and wherever he was and get them into the sport. But it never really took off here. And Neil had come from the US, and he's done great work with WAF. He's competed at WAF when he was younger, and he met me one day, and we had a discussion, and he could sort of see that enthusiasm and passion in me. And I asked him, he was the official WAF exec. What have I got to do to be the president for the Australian Federation? How do I start that? And so Neil, he guided me and sort of mentored me down that path. And then we took a sort of initiative in 2011 and said, let's hold the first national championships in Australia ever. And we put the call out, again, limited social media then. And we held it in a parking lot behind a strongman event. That was all we could get. We had no money. and we built our stage, we built the table, and we had competitors come from, I think, 3 of the states at that time. We had 45 at our very first national event, and some of these guys are still around today. There's some icons from back then, but that's where it started. And then from there, 2012, we got invited to FitX, which turned into Arnold's, and it was just about creating relationships. It was about creating a brand, which I'm sure you guys have seen our brand, the AAF brand, something that was really professional and slick. So we wanted to emulate Europe, how they did Zloty at the time. And so we created the brand to be indicative of that, so that sponsors would see us in a very professional light. And we went sort of above and beyond with the branding always to make sure that we could land sponsors early on. And we did that. We picked up big sponsors in 2012. We picked up Volvo in 2013. We picked up, and then we got Devon out and John Brzenk. And then we were very ambitious with what we wanted to do with the sport. And as a unified front, that made it very easy. Everyone was always aligned with what we were doing. Nobody had any agendas. No one made money. I haven't taken a cent in 10 years since I started the federation. This has just been something that's been pure passion for me. And I think that's why we sort of stick with it, because we are all aligned in that.
Who did Matt pull when he went down to Australia? And who organized that?
Matt Mask was that was us. We just reach out on Facebook saying, Matt, do you want to come to Australia? It's like, yeah, can you pay for my tickets, me and my wife? Easy. And that's it. That's all those. Every conversation has been John Brzenk and Renee, Devon and Jody has been that's where it started. So Matt, I don't know who he pulled, to be honest. I don't know if he had an official match. He just came. Matt came as a sort of a superstar.
Right. I thought
we had some questions in the chat. One of the ones was, where can I watch the Over the Top 2 trailer? So I posted it in the live chat. Mizell says, who are the current sponsors for the tournament? We appreciate their support. Now, you might have touched on it a little bit, but who do you have lined up right now for the Over the Top 2?
So our major sponsor is Stronghold Panduit. So this has been a sponsor we've had for 3 years now. Those guys, incredibly supportive of what we do and have been hugely helpful in raising these funds. So they are a major sponsor. Volvo and potentially other trucking companies. We've got a few earmarked that will be sympathetic to this event. So there'll be trucking companies. And then we've got a supplement company as well. Prana, which is one of our new major sponsors as well. And then from there, we will bring on minor sponsors and potentially further money sponsors.
Now, I got a question that, did you guys have to pay for any kind of copyright stuff using Over the Top 2 as your brand, or is Australia kind of exempt from that?
So we didn't call it Over the Top 2. I think Ryan started that little trend. It's not Over the Top 2. It's Over the Top Down Under. So if you notice from the logo on the truck, the logo is modified with any copyright, most copyright on sort of artwork, it's 10%. So we modified the logo, we rounded the edges, we did a few little things to it, and then we added the Down Under component. So it's Over the Top Down Under is the official title.
All right. So Mizell also says, do you see Lachlan as the future of Australian arm wrestling, or is there some young and upcoming that may have the same light as Adair is given yet? So is Lachlan Adair, is he the guy? Is he going to be the future face of the sport in Australia? And can he beat Ryan Scott?
We're about to find that out. Those guys are lining up a major super match to see who is the number one in Australia. Look, he's a friend. He's a super strong guy. The thing is with social media, you see only what people post. So there's a lot of guys training really, really hard, but they don't have prolific social media presence. So you sort of, your view of Australia is skewed by the people that you see posting frequently. There are some, like Ryan Scott has no presence on social media. That guy, I promise you, is training very, very hard to win this match. And he will be perceived as the underdog because he's not as prominent with what he's lifting and the numbers that he's moving around. Same with a lot of guys in different states. So West Australia doesn't get a lot of airtime, and they're really strong guys. They all seem that their club is called Hands of Steel, and they all have literally got hands of steel. These guys are a nightmare. Whenever I go to comps, these guys always some of the most dangerous pullers, but you never hear about them. So as to who's the face, I mean, look, Lachlan is left hand, undisputedly, I think, between him and Brett Coots, that's the match. The best left hand arm wrestler in Australia is Lachlan Adair, Brett Coots. That match has to happen. Right hand, Lachlan and Brian Scott.
Who in North America, Phil, do you think Lachlan left-handed kind of would mimic or be on the same level as?
Good question. Look, I'd
I'd
be really interested to see Ryan Espy pulling Lachlan left-handed.
Here's why I'm asking, because I wanted to reach
100%.
I wanted to reach out to Lachlan, and maybe in that Vancouver July 3rd event that I got going out, have him and Robbie Topi battle left-handed.
Oh yeah, Robbie Topi. That guy's a beast.
Never heard of him.
How have I heard of him?
I don't know. Some bum.
I'm just trying to think of the. Yeah, look, Ryan. I would have said you would be a good match for Lachlan. I mean, Lachlan left-handed. You saw how well he did both arms at Zloty. I mean, he was hanging with guys like Zambolats from Russia. You know, that just tells you the sort of the level he's at, and he's stronger since then. So look, he's definitely in that. He's definitely hit that elite. I think that elite tier, but he needs to be tested more against people on that level. So again, if you can get him over there with the travel restrictions, I'm sure he'd be dying to get over there and have a match. I know Todd Hutchings and him have got unfinished business. Yeah,
I was working on that one too, and COVID kind of got in the way. So,
and of course, I'm willing to travel to Australia and have a match with Lachlan Adair left-handed. That was never on my radar, but I would do it. Of course, whose name has come up in the chat is that of Danny Tesh. What has he been up to lately? Do you have any?
Danny. Yeah, people trying to unearth Danny Tesh. He lives, like I've said this to Devin as well. Danny lives 500 meters from me. So where I'm sitting right now, Danny's just up the road, same suburb. And when I see him,
I imagine he's in a castle.
Yeah, I know the enigma that goes with that guy. He definitely stepped down from the sport at the right time. He did a Alexei Vovoda 2004. But his focus is not on arm wrestling at the moment. He's one of these guys he gets almost obsessed with something, and his obsession was arm wrestling and becoming, the best he could possibly be. And right now he's shifted that obsession elsewhere, and he's kind of an all or nothing guy. He doesn't just dabble in something. He wants to go all in. So he's not, he's lost a lot of the weight. We still arm wrestle. When he comes over, we play board games and things, and we'll have a quick arm wrestle over the table for old time's sake. And he's oblivious to the chat that goes on. He has no social media. He never looks at anything on arm wrestling YouTube. Like, no idea that Neil Pickup writes songs about him, which is the funniest part. He has no idea about the infamy he's created for himself.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I find it fascinating that he has become legendary, and he is not aware of it. It's
that's the beauty of Danny Tesh.
Yeah. So how did the WAL ever get a hold of him? Did they have to send a carrier pigeon with a message in it to give them a call, or what? How did it happen? And by the way, we have the Aussie arm wrestler in the chat, but go ahead, Phil.
Oh, Jake, my man. So Danny's wife, Mel, and you would have seen her in the backdrop of the Quinlan Mendez match. She was in Danny's corner. So I think they would have, Mel would have been easier to contact than Danny, but somehow they got a hold of him. Danny at that time was in his best shape and said yes. And I think they had made a holiday of it as well to the US. So it just came from there. It was very quiet about how he went about it. It just, okay, I have a match and this is the guy I'm up against. And as you thought, not a great deal of talk about it online in the build up. And then suddenly and I remember before that match, he was messaging me as he was in the hallway, waiting to go out into the arena, and he was so nervous, and he was like, I don't know, I'm nervous, I don't know what to do, if I'll stick to my game. And he went out there and he crushed it. But the guy's he's just a very quiet, thoughtful guy, Danny. And it's a shame because he was such a talented arm wrestler.
100%.
I find Australian arm wrestling fascinating, not just in the characters that have come out of it, but in the purity that the sport seems to have there. And I'm very much looking forward to coming over there and participating in it. Do you guys see yourself as competing against the Zloty? Because right now, the dates seem to be pretty close together if they have it in 2021.
No, we're a little bit insulated here, Ryan. I think we're not a private promoter. The Australian Arm Wrestling Federation it's a hybrid. If I was to think about the things that we do over there, we don't fall into the traditional mold of a country federation. We sort of play outside of the scope of what a federation or a governing body does. We go and make alignments with Arnold's, host events, get sponsors, put on these big events. So we fall into an interesting place, and we're not sort of beholden to anyone. So when we host events and we put things on, we do that we're our own masters in that sense. We don't have to ask anyone for approval. And that's been why Australia has just kind of progressed and kept on moving on an upward trajectory since day dot, because we've never been held back by anything. And even with WAF, we did have that, we still have that alignment with WAF. And I was on, as you probably remember, the executive for WAF. And it just got to a point where I just was too far separated from that. I didn't have all the information. I just didn't feel like I was an effective addition to that team, especially when things started to kind of get very, very negative towards that. So again, it's like, well, I'm going to go back to the thing I know, which is the Australian Federation, and I feel comfortable running our course here.
Right. Well, I appreciate everything you're doing over there, and I think Over the Top 2 is going to be an amazing event. I do legitimately plan on being there for it, and I think Jeff does as well. Jeff?
Yeah, I'm probably not as committed as you at this point, but I would say.
Oh, Jeff, just say yes.
Okay, I'm there.
You're in, Jeff. You'll be in good hands here.
No, I'll be honest. I'm 90%. I mean, my only concern is I just started that new project out in BC, and if that will kind of impede anything that I'm doing in the fall. But I'm good at making provisions and making things work. So.
No, we would love to have you guys. Honestly, everyone who comes out gets treated like superstars here. So, everyone's so welcoming, opening up their houses. I mean, you'll be treated very well in Australia, and the country is beautiful.
I want a super match if I come down there with Ryan.
Ryan Bowen?
Ryan Espy. You know him?
Ryan Espy.
You want a super match with
Yeah,
who?
I've heard of him.
So you want a super match with Jeff?
You.
Just pull the event, Jeff.
I'd smash it, buddy.
There are too many guys hiding behind super matches and afraid of arm wrestling. Let's just go with a tournament arm wrestling and have fun. Pulling in an event where everyone's going to get an opportunity to
100%.
And the only time I'm probably going to get a match with Devin Laird again is in the open tournament at Over the Top Down Under.
Yeah. Look, and you throw Alan Fisher and Cobra. If John comes, I think we'll get John here. I mean, throw everyone in the mix. I mean, what kind of a draw would that be, having all those guys' names?
Now that right arm overall, it's truly just an open class where you just get thrown in there.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure if I'd go and get my trucker's license just for an orange truck that's kind of a piece of junk that I'd have to leave behind anyway, but it sure would make an interesting photo. And then I'd have to get video of me walking outside and handing the keys to somebody I found on the street.
Yeah, I think we're going to do that. I think we'll figure out a way to get that truck.
Yeah, that would be great. Jeff, what do you got? And we got some chat. Open it up. We got anything you want now that we've covered the Over the Top Down Under subject.
Somebody asked about tickets for TAL3 in Vancouver. There's no tickets being sold. Just show up and watch or participate.
Three.
Hold on, guys. Somebody's at my door.
The pizza guy.
No, he better not be back.
It's the pizza guy again, or it's one of those singing telegrams.
So, Ryan, what in terms of the Canadian Nationals and what you guys are doing over there? And obviously you guys are still there's still quite locked down, but what are your plans for the rest of the year for Canada?
Oh, well, we are, I hope I'm not speaking out of turn with the rest of the Canadian Arm Wrestling Federation, but you probably are aware that I'm the vice president. There is currently a vote on whether or not to postpone the Nationals for another year. So the 2020 Nationals were to happen in Winnipeg, Manitoba, which is 40 minutes from my house. And Canada being so vast, I mean, that's a nice perk for someone like me. But that aside, it was postponed to 2021, and now we're voting again on whether we should push everything back to 2022. If that happens, it'll be Winnipeg again, 2022, and then 2023 will be Cape Breton Island. And
I think
that would mean that there's not a ton of stuff going on as far as the federation goes in Canada. The Manitoba Arm Wrestling Association will put on some events. Jeff will do some stuff. I'll put on some stuff within COVID restrictions, but it's different province to province, which is a real problem because it's so different that you cannot plan for a national championship.
Is there just there's just one national? Is that the main event that you guys are responsible for? Is the national Canadian Nationals?
Yeah, there's one Nationals, and I think most countries are united with the one Nationals. I just think the United States, I'm not sure what they got going on, but one minute they're having the unified Nationals, and the next they're not. I'm not too sure what they got happening.
Well, I think they're going to pull off the IFA Worlds if they.
Yeah, but it will be a true Worlds, Ryan. Like, in all honesty.
Sheldon, to answer your question, is there a date set? No, there's not a date set. So there has to be a decision made probably by April the 1st on whether or not the Nationals are going to be postponed. Things are not terrible in Canada. In my province, they're actually okay. And I was expecting restrictions to lift a little bit, but they have not. I can only have one other household intermingle with my household. So it's a little weird. So I have one training partner and everyone else. There's some underground stuff going on, no pun intended, because that's the name of my league. But we have a lot of guys that are doing their own thing and having practices. And my fear for them is that they're going to get caught and they're going to get fines and get themselves in some hot water.
Every province is practicing, Ryan. Every club, every practice is doing something underground.
Yeah,
it's been going on.
But Jeff,
day
not
one.
everyone's posting it on YouTube, brother.
Everybody's
so
posting.
There's 25 guys.
Your guys are posting. Oh, gotcha.
And they're filming the whole thing, and it's 4 hours of footage, and it's getting posted on YouTube. So it's not the most careful thing that I've ever seen, but. Warren Koerner, any dates for UAWL event? No, sometime in April, and maybe several dates in April. And Barbarian Arm Wrestling is challenging you to a super match, Jeff. What do you say?
Let's do it. But I'm not. But I'm not traveling anymore. They can come to me now.
Superstar Jeff is big time in the crowd.
I've traveled to every single super match all over the States, Canada. So it's time to flip that.
Well, you come to Australia, Jeff, we'll line you up with a good match.
Let's do it,
guys. Yeah.
I'm excited. I'll be all honest. I'm not a great arm wrestler. I'm maybe I don't know what you call it, an elite amateur or a low level pro, but I just love to compete. I love to promote. I love to support. So, I mean, yeah. And I'll battle anybody just for the fun of doing it. So I'm in.
Awesome.
All right, Phil, I got to ask your opinion. What is your opinion on the Ryan Bowen RVJ match?
Look, I haven't watched. There's so many videos and so much content. I mean, I can't keep track of nearly any half of the stuff, but it's interesting. I think there's two angles here. I mean, obviously, there's the discussion about does Ryan deserve it. It's outside of the bounds of the league. So, in WAL, if this was a WAL match, then I would say categorically, no, he doesn't deserve it. But it's not in WAL. It's outside of that. It's just two guys agreeing to have a super match. So
and that's a great point, Phil. That's a great point, and that's when I agree. Who cares whether he's earned it or deserves it? It's two guys agreeing to a match, and it's irrelevant about who deserves it. It's not under a league, so it's irrelevant.
Yeah. And within the confines of the league, of course, there's a pathway of progression, and you've got to go through that. That's the model they have. But yeah, I think in this case, I have no problem with that. Whether as to how it will go down, I've seen there's been some interesting comments. It's certainly a good way for Ryan to see where he sits at that sort of. You're hitting the elite level guys now, so I don't know. I think Rob's hand's probably too big and strong. He's obviously very experienced guy, Rob. But Ryan, honestly, I never really bet against Ryan now because he always seems to find a way. I mean, they call him the locksmith at training because he just manages to pick apart someone's game, and he's happy to lose the first two rounds. That's why he favors this 6-match format, is because he will adjust his game. He will adjust and he will figure out a way. He does that very, very well.
I was very skeptical that this match would never happen. I can say with certain now, there's no doubt that this match is going to happen, and that prize money will be the upper end of what they're talking about. No doubt in my mind. I heard some things over the last few days that are very interesting. This match will happen, and there's no doubt in my mind, and that prize money will be all of what they're talking about. So,
Jeff, what have you heard in the past few days?
I'm not going on from there.
You're gonna throw
what
that
do you
out
guys
there?
think? Who's going to win? What, if you had to put money on it?
If I was putting money, I'd bet RBJ. There's no question, like you said, Phil, that Ryan's. I mean, is there anybody better out there to adapt than Ryan? I don't know if there is. I mean, he's very good. I mean, one thing that puts Ryan ahead of a lot of guys is his confidence, and his desire to win. He trains his ass off. He puts 150% into everything he does. So it's who knows, but if I was a betting man, I'd bet RVJ, but if Ryan pulled out some wins, I wouldn't be shocked at all.
If it was a tournament format, I'd say RVJ. Ryan in a tournament format doesn't have the chance to sort of figure out his opponent, which is why some of the, Ryan is, you'll see he does well in tournaments. He's very good at, he's got explosive starts. He's obviously increased his game there considerably, but it also tournament formats obviously favor the guys who can sort of get the job done quickly. Like Ryan Scott, for example, is a great tournament puller. He is a kind of like an Australian Andre Pushkar, huge side pressure, high knuckle hit. And that's it. You don't really have a chance to you kind of get left dazed and confused what just happened. And he proceeds through the A side. Whereas a super match, Ryan's endurance is incredible as well. So I think for RVJ, his biggest risk would be the match goes too long and there's too much muck around with the setup. If his hand even starts to blow up at all, Ryan can just pull for days. I mean, his ability to pull through long training sessions and have very low dip in his overall power, a bit like, Devin does that as well. He just can keep pulling and pulling and pulling. Whereas other pullers just gas, their energy and their strength is off a cliff after a few too many hard matches.
Yeah, I find it. I just got a weird notification that we're now streaming live on YouTube, but I thought we were all this time, and we must be with the chat. But anyway, I think the match is. I think it's a fascinating match, not just because of Ryan being able to get it, or who's going to win the match, but I think it's interesting that. It's gotten such mainstream, and when I say mainstream, I mean other major YouTube channels like More Plates, More Dates dissecting the drug testing protocol that they're going to follow. I think that's amazing that they get that kind of attention. I want it to happen soon, but I know there's got to be a lot of build up to it. I do think that Ryan has the ability over the rounds, almost exactly like you described it, Phil, to adjust and win the match.
The only problem with that is RBJ's he can adapt with the best of them as well.
But I don't think he's going to. I think
Yeah.
if he gets blown up, I think that's it.
Hey, Ryan, Phil, I got to interrupt. I got to head out. It's been an hour. I promised my wife 8 o'clock for date night. I got to leave, guys.
And date night is 2 feet that way, eating pizza.
It is what it is.
Watching TV.
A promise is a promise, and I've been gone for a long time. I got home, so
get the hell out of here.
I got to go, guys. Phil, it's been a pleasure. I wish you all the best of luck in this event, and if there's anything I can do from Canada to help you out, give me hit me up and let me know.
No, thanks, Jeff. We'll see you in Australia in November.
Right on, guys. Take care.
Well, Jeff is
It's
gone.
been an hour already. Wow. Okay.
It has been an hour. And Phil, you know what? I appreciate coming on the show, man. Like it's a genuine pleasure, and I always enjoy talking to you. And we need to not wait so long next time before we have another conversation, because, man, it's been a year. It's been a year since we chatted, and I mean, we wait for big things to come up to have these conversations, but we don't always have to do that. And I truly believe that I will be in Australia competing in November at your event.
There'll be a fight to see where you stay, Ryan, if you come out. So, you'll have no shortage of opportunities on staying. Again, everyone's very welcoming. We'll open up their house and their families to you. So, we love to have internationals out here. And look, we should do this more often. Again, it like you said, it can be for the small. There's a lot of things happening in the arm wrestling world. This is a big thing for us, but again, the WAF EFA discussion. I mean, that's one that I look to. I look to, Canada and the other countries that are more mature in the sport. They've been doing this longer. They have more knowledge at the higher political levels of how this works, and we sort of have to reach out and get the right advice on how we should move forward next.
Now, we had a little bit of chatter going on about Canada versus Australia. What do you think of an event like that?
Yeah, that's a cool idea.
It is a cool idea. I would like to pull some of the top guys, and it sounds like Lachlan already needs a left-handed ass whooping.
Yeah, that's a good man. I mean, he pulled Devon. Same time as Milkman or Ryan Scott pulled right hand, Lachlan pulled Devon left, and look, he's obviously evolved his game. That was early 2019. That was Arnold. So yeah, that's 2 years on. He's definitely a stronger, more technically proficient arm wrestler. So, but you and him, I mean, you've got pedigree. You've competed at the highest levels, of the sport at WAF, and that'd be a great match. We've got, I think, across all classes, we've got pullers that are really well matched between Canada and Australia. I think Australia has finally reached that level where we can step up to the big stage.
I think that would be an amazing event, but not to conflict with what you have going on already, which is a lot. And I appreciate the fact that you're sharing with us the information on the Over the Top Down Under event. I really, truly hope that you get a ton of guys out there, and it is my plan to be there. But can you touch on the Arnolds? It's March, but it'll probably return in 2022, I'm guessing. Yeah, look,
Arnold's, I mean, I have heard wind that it might happen later this year. They obviously don't want to let another year go past. It was a really heartbreaking decision last year, because it was the most unfortunate timing, with COVID literally causing Victorian government to sort of tell or cancel all events not 2 days out from Arnold. So had it happened a week later, the event would have gone ahead. And you can imagine the cost and the just the heartache for competitors who had spent the whole year training for that event. So many things are affected when an event that size cancels. So we lost 2020. We've lost 2021 effectively. It might happen this year. I think it's in more likelihood next year in March. And it'll be back to our biggest event of the year. So Arnold's for us, you've got Schwarzenegger there. We had Travis booked in for 2019. So we had Travis and Sarah Buckman. Travis has had his tickets issued. He was ready to fly. we had lost that as well. So we want to get Travis back. We'd love to get Sarah over here. I've talked to Sarah a fair bit. Just to help build the women's side of the sport, you need a strong female personality, someone who's got the accolades that Sarah does to say, and put her up on stage and watch her wipe the floor with all the guys. I think that's a great way to bring people to realize that you don't have to be the biggest in the room. So Arnold's for us. Yeah, we're going to put all our sponsorship dollars that are left from Over the Top into Arnold's to make sure that is as big an event as we've had every other year.
So you might see me twice in the next year or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Well, the G Brown 86 has asked one question, and it'll be the final question we cover before we sign off here. But he's asked us both this: do you feel the ability to change tactics during a super match can be developed? Is it directly related to experience, or are some people better at it in general, at thinking at the table?
I think you need to have, yes, there's two parts to that. There's realizing that you're losing and you're fighting a losing fight. So to take Ryan as an example, he loses the first match. The other guy is clearly stronger in that position. He adjusts for the next match, but he has to adjust into a position that he actually is strong in. So it's no point adjusting to different positions where you're equally as weak in those positions. You need to have the foundation there as well. So I think Ryan's developed all those areas. He's strong in a hook. He's strong in a top roll. He's worked on all those different positions. So Ryan has got a number of tools in his toolkit to go to if something fails. Whereas, if I arm wrestle, like on my left is my money arm, if my top roll fails, I'm screwed. I haven't got a B game. I don't have a hook. So if you've developed those other tools, yeah, and you're proficient in those, you can go to them if you need to. And that's what Ryan does well.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And in some cases, it looks like the same match over and over again, but the opponent is actually attempting to go to different positions. Sometimes you just don't get there. Yeah. Anyway, Phil.
Yeah, good question.
Yeah, great question. Phil, I'm going to let you get on with your day, and you're at work, and it is about 1 o'clock in
lunchtime.
It's lunchtime in Australia, and it is 9 p.m. here. So I appreciate you coming on, man. And anytime you want to come back, you let me know, and we'll make it happen.
Absolutely. We will do some more of these in the lead up to Over the Top for sure.
100% we will. And I'm assuming that you will get lots of requests from all the YouTube channels, particularly the ones that go live in the evenings, building up to your event. So look forward to lots of support there.
I'll leave you on one last note. I did hear wind from one of the Georgian forums that someone had mentioned to Gennady that this tournament was happening, and he was somewhat interested in that. So you bring those guys over, that changes everything.
You bring Gennady over, and I will send him back with a second place.
Love it. Oh, the shitty orange truck.
Yeah. Yeah. You can pull the truckers division. Yeah.
Awesome. Oh, thanks for having me on, Ryan. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Phil. I appreciate you. And thanks all you guys in the chat for watching. We'll see you next week.